This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the dawn. Welcome to the sunrise safari here on Djuma Private Game Reserve, where, of course, we have managed to find you some elephants that are moving from marula tree to marula tree here, looking for, of course, marulas. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve, joined by Sebastian on camera, and as always, excited to have you with us on board. And it is going to be a wonderful morning out this morning. The rain has stopped for now, but it looks like there is more on the way. And I am, of course, joined by a wide variety of individuals out and about in the African continent. We've got Lauren, who is manning the dam cam this morning. Deirdre out in Tswalu for some adventures. Mike at Prrivate, who is probably going to get some wet feet, as well as Dan out at andBeyond in Ngala, and Ross out at andBeyond Phinda. And we welcome you on board your live African safari. Good morning again, and welcome to a nice overcast 21 degrees Celsius here in Djuma Private Game Reserve. We're at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. If you have any questions and comments, please send them through #WildEarth. Throw them in on the YouTube chat stream. And kids' questions if you're under the age of 18. And remember, we are fast approaching that day when all questions are to be answered on, I think today is the day, in fact, on the website. So go ahead there and register if you haven't done so yet. That is where we're going to be streamlining our questions from. My name is Steve Falkenbridge, joined by Sebastian Romy on camera, and as always, nice to be out and about, and with our herd of elephants that are just enjoying the fruits of quarantine this morning. And it is Monday, so we know what Monday provides for us sometimes. We are hoping to get out and about and a little bit further away from camp to maybe track down some animals, but so far not sounding very positive in that regard. So we're just going to be waiting for some updates. But for now, we found a very dirty-nosed elephant here on quarantine who is enjoying some breakfast. You see her eyes. She's thinking about me. She's thinking about us. But let's go have a quick little look at what the weather beholds for today. So indeed, it is cloudy and overcast all across the eastern parts of the country, and almost certain there's more rain on the way. We can see it in the distance. Hopefully it bypasses us, because I think we've had enough now. Hey, Seb? We've had enough. Let's start to dry things out. The Pungwe River was flooding 2 days ago. The bridge to get in and out of camp has been washed away. I think it's a point where the rain starts becoming just a little bit too much. We do bless the rains, but it's limiting our activity at the moment, so we have to be patient. We have been very patient. James, they are indeed, aren't they? Very peaceful way to start a morning. I quite enjoy having a cup of coffee with a herd of elephants. I've never yet had a cup of coffee accepted by one of them. Not sure if they're into those sort of things. Definitely into marulas, though, as you can tell. More ellies making some noise south of us. Okay, it's hard to say, and they're still dropping fruit. It's amazing how much fruit a tree can produce. But normally by February they're finished. But I'm looking into the tree and there's still plenty in here. Some years we don't get many and some years we get extra. So it's very hard to say exactly. Ooh, what's wrong, Mama? What's wrong? We've been here the whole time. She's like, who are these people here to try and steal my marula fruits? Almost feel like she's encountered something this morning that she didn't like. I've seen this female many times and she likes me. Something is just not quite right this morning. Her behavior, we saw her just now before we went to the weather, her eyes were flaring a little bit. I talk about that often. When you think about elephant behavior, the first thing to change, everybody's the eye. And when the eye changes, and if you see the whites of the eye, then you see how her eyes are quite wide open. They're not flaring, but they're open. She's very alert. There we go. Can you see the white? The elephant's eyes show that white, then she's very alert to something that's going on. She is with just her two youngsters, so she's away from the protection of other large elephants in a herd, so it makes sense for her to be maybe a little bit more careful or a little bit more sort of protective. This female we've actually seen for quite a while over the last few years, and she's often just her and the two small youngsters, which I've always found quite strange. Maybe she's socially awkward, doesn't like to hang out with the larger herd. I remember seeing her 3 years ago when that little youngster behind her was a tiny little baby. If it's the same one, it's difficult to tell. She doesn't have too many characteristic features, but just going by the size, the fact that there's still 3 of them makes me feel like it's the same one. But over the last couple of weeks, I've seen them a lot. But if she's the only female in the herd, or big female, then she's basically responsible for everything that goes on and all the interactions and all the decisions. And Okay, well, we're going to move on and see what else we can find. We're going to send you over to Deirdre over in Kalahari.
Good morning from Tswalu. I know when you see a sable, or at this stage, a sable with two horns, no face, you know you're at Tswalu. That's a beautiful sable bull. You're with me on camera. I'm Deirdre, and no, I'm not on camera. Well, I'm in front of the camera, but Morgan's actually on the camera. So Morgan, say hello. And now the sable's showing you his nice side. So they're just a beautiful morning start. He's quite busy already eating the grasses. He's having a good snack. So a nice big sable bull. I can actually also hear the button quails in the background. You just hear this whoom, very haunting, eerie little whoom. And that's just as a result of all these high grasses. You hear them more than you see them, the button quails. I don't think he knows that that's not his best feature. I think his best feature is definitely his face, with that beautiful black and white coloration. So we do hope that you engage with us this morning. Send all your questions. Remember, hashtag WildEarth and put @FC in front of your question. And then you can engage with us and we can answer all your safari questions. So it is typical to find a single sable bull. They are territorial. But he is quite a nice bull, with beautifully symmetrical horns there. Quite a big bull, in fact. There you're starting to see a little bit more of his face. So belonging to the group of horsehead antelope. It's a bit of a strange, or horse antelope. And they're sort of next closest in their group, which we also get here at Tswalu, is the roan. Tracy's question is, how long can the bull's horns get? Well, they generally measure them from the base all the way across the front ridge down to the tip. With Sable, you're looking at 51 inches is already a really big bull, but about 51 to 53 is around about as big as they get. So sort of that's 1.25 meters. Plus minus. The females will have smaller, shorter horns than the males, but both male and female sable do have horns, and there is a color difference between them as well. The females are a lot brown, much lighter brown in color, and then with the roan as well, both male and female also have horns. So their horns would be mostly used for fighting, for territorial bulls for fighting, and to defend themselves. They generally tend to go down on their knees and sort of do a sweeping motion with those horns. They have been known to kill. They have killed people as well if they were cornered. One of the first mortalities in the Kruger National Park in the early years was somebody that had by accident cornered a sable and got killed by a sable, funnily enough. Well, not funny, I suppose. That's not the right thing to say, but unfortunately, wrong place, wrong time. And those sables are, I think people underestimate the strength that some of these animals actually have. I mean, you're looking at an animal that's over 200 kilograms, and just that sort of, that power in the neck and the muscles in order to use those horns is quite something. So we're going to carry on moving west into the dunes. That's our plan this morning.
Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, this could become a reality. Tumbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of WildEarth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the WildEarth camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of February 2021, and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa, day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for WildEarth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on WildEarth.
Welcome everyone to andBeyond Phinda, and we found this morning the beautiful female leopard in a tree, just sitting on top of what looks like a little nest of foliage, and she's just begun to start to groom herself. How amazing is this? Incredible start to the morning. My name is Ross, and behind the camera today is Simon, and we're coming to you live from andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. Wow, she's found herself such a comfortable looking spot. It actually looks like she's made almost like a nest of foliage up there, but I think what she is lying on is probably a branch. It's a bit of an optical illusion for us. There's just a lot of canopy in front of her. But she was lying flat with her head down when we found her, and just, I think, taking in the morning sun rays, warming herself up, enjoying the warmth. But now, she's just started to groom herself, and she's gazing off in that direction that you see her now. There's a male impala standing there, quite a distance away. It's just caught her attention. can see her throat is panting. You can just check her spots around her neck, moving up and down, because it's already getting very, very hot. She might be overheating a little bit there where she's lying. And also, I've got a suspicion that she's got some meat in this tree. An old carcass, a carcass that she might have killed yesterday and has been feeding off, because we've been seeing her tracks in this area quite a lot in the last 24 hours. So I think maybe she stashed something in this tree and has been coming back again and again over the last day to feed on it. And that also might be a reason why she's panting, because she's full, trying to spend a lot of energy digesting the food that she's got in her belly, as well as being very hot from the sun. So Matthew, you asked what the leopard population at Phinda is like, and we have a very high density of leopards here at Phinda. We are 28,000 hectares in size, and oh look, she stood up there. Maybe she looks like she's getting down. Oh no, she's just grooming. We estimate from a camera trap survey that we did in 2017 with a group called Panthera, that there's about 30 individuals on Phinda, but that's probably changed a lot since then, because leopards populations change constantly, with new males coming in, chasing other males out, new cubs being born. So yeah, I'd say around 30 leopards, which is one leopard per hectare on average, which is a very high population, very high density. There's very good habitat for leopards. There's lots of thicket, there's lots of food. There's not a lot of pressure anymore from humans, because we are a protected area. In the days gone by, there used to be quite a lot of persecution of leopards around here from farmers and hunters, but those hunters, or the hunting lodges, have since disbanded, and the farmers in the area have all incorporated their land into Phinda. So the leopards are becoming more and more relaxed, so we're actually seeing more of them too, which is fantastic for us. Still there. Still see her spots. I'm wondering now that she's showing signs of standing up and walking around on that branch and grooming. These are all signs that she might possibly start to get active and drop down the tree. Oh, she's just gone down the tree. So I hope we'll be able to follow her down there. We'll just see if we can start our vehicle and get down there. Hopefully we have signal. Get down there. Hopefully we have signal. Get down there. Hopefully we have signal. Get down there. Hopefully we have signal.
Sorry about the technical difficulties, everybody. We found a very big pile of leopard scat. Nearly drove over it. It was so big. But just trying to figure out where he might have gotten to. Looks like a male. There's a very big ball of scat, though. But everything is so wet. We've got to be lucky to just find an area that he's walked and left a track for us. He's definitely coming north along that road there. Charlie, they're generally pretty active at night if they're not hungry. I mean, if they're hungry, or if they've got a meal, then they can just spend their entire evening in one spot. That goes with any of the big cats. But if they're hungry, they got no food, or they feel the need to go on a territorial march, they can be extremely active. Even on days like this when it's overcast and cool, they can also be active. It's one of the reasons why game drives are set at the times they're set at. Generally peak sort of activity times for the large predators. Be moving around before it gets hot. But if it maintains a cool temperature throughout the day, they can still be active. But then they don't read the books, you see. They do whatever they feel like. Whatever's going on at the moment. They love to have cat naps. A time when you think it should be perfect time for them into doing something. They just lie flat. Okay, well, we're going to carry on here, see if we can pick up any tracks of this male leopard. In the meantime, send you over the dam cab. Say good morning, Lauren.
Good luck, Steve. I hope you get lucky with your leopard today. My name is Lauren, everyone, and Lauren is on dam cam. I'm putting my thumb up here, but none of you can see it. We had some lovely hippo activity just moments ago, and of course naturally they have submerged, which means we can no longer see them, but they're right on the dam wall, and this is actually a really good place to hold the dam cam if you like, because you get the view of the dam wall. And although it's been very difficult to find predators lately, lots of animals do use this wall, so it's quite nice to just hold the camera here. There we go. Hello hippos, good morning. I think if we hold it here, we'll be able to see some hippo activity. So I just want to mention the hyena naming yesterday. Sadly, we were suffering from a lot of gremlin attacks, and it was just not a great day. So I will be on drive tomorrow, and hopefully we will be able to resume with the hyena naming activities tomorrow. So stay tuned. We absolutely will be naming these little cubs very, very shortly. Now, of course, someone is flying. The woodland kingfisher was also perched earlier, but has flown away. So there's not much activity happening around the dam right now. But you never know. You've got to keep scanning. You never know what might be happening in any direction. Sam, that's a very difficult question to answer unless you can actually identify them. We had a hippo with an injury for a very long time on its leg, so we were able to positively identify that hippo. But hippos really do all look the same. And they come and go, they do move, and of course it's summer, so there's a lot more water around for them to move. And yes, it's very difficult to say that it's the exact same hippo unless you're able to watch it day in, day out, follow it day in, day out, and conclusively see. Otherwise, if it maybe had a notch missing on its ear, or maybe had part of its tail missing, then we were able to sort of positively identify it. But that's one of the things you learn in science. There's a program called WildAid. You can all follow it, and they are the ones that sort of identify different species. You can do whale sharks, you can do dolphins, giraffes, zebra, leopards, not just your predators, turtles, and it's a great program. You can follow the book and see what species you can identify and in what individuals you can identify. And it really highlights the sort of fact that you've got to be very cautious. It's easy to assume. It's easy to assume that you're seeing the same elephant, or you're seeing the same giraffe, or you're seeing the same hippo. But until you can positively identify that individual, in science, that would not fly. So in answer to your question, most likely we see the 5 same hippos day in, day out, but it does change. I mean, we only had 1 hippo in this water body for a very long time. And then now, of course, the numbers have increased, and we've got lots of little ones as well. But most likely, yes. But in bodies like Chitwa waterhole, the numbers pushed up to over 60 last year. 60, or I think it was the year before, actually. Now, that is a lot of hippos for one water body. And could anyone say if it's the same hippos all the time? I'm not sure. Okay, I'm going to see what I can find on the dam cam for you today. And for now, we're going to send you guys across to Tswalu.
So, perfect comparison. Just as we came over the next dune, here's the roan. So we have just seen the male sable, and here's now a male roan. At least this one is showing us the front half quite nicely. So you can see their extremely long ears. Also that very similar, beautiful sort of black and white face. And then the slightly shorter horns. But this brown coloration would be a similar coloration to what a female sable would have. So he's also busy grazing at the moment, but we've got a beautiful scene here. I know we've found a few things in this valley this morning. It's like a lovely green carpet. We found a little family of meerkats, which it's a long distance away. They're literally on the other side of the valley, just above that shepherd's tree. They're standing all in a row. There was at least 8 of them earlier, just standing in the sun, just enjoying the morning sun. This is a completely different group of meerkats. It's none of the ones that we view regularly. And then we'll, because they're quite far away, there's not, we know we can get you closer than that. We'll show you also some of the springbuck in their nice lush green carpet this morning. Beautiful little herd of springbuck. So the nice advantage is we're sitting on the top of one of the dunes looking down into what's called a dune street, and they're in the bottom, and then as we go up and over the other dunes. So we're far enough away from them that they're actually just behaving normally and not running away from us. So the springbuck, we've been talking about animals with horns. Springbuck also, both male and female, have horns. It's just the shape and the thickness of the horns. Carl's asked the question, what is the biggest antelope species? So that is an eland. We do have them here, so this is a very good place to look out for them, is in the dunes. We can try and see if we can show you one. But the roan that we've just seen is actually the second largest of the antelope, weighing in well over 250 kilograms. That's the roan. The eland, a big eland bull, well over a ton in size. So there's a massive size difference between the largest and the second largest. The roan's, he's left. But just look at that view. That's a beautiful sort of example of a dune street. Oh, you can see him now. Let me... Hold on, Morgan. I'm just going to release the brake. And we maybe go forward a bit. And then it will... Oh! No, we are not rolling without starting the car. Sand is a very effective brake on the sand dunes. We can probably pop it in there. I don't know if that would be easier for... Oh. I nearly threw Morgan off the car, sorry. I just thought I'd give him a better angle of that roan, but it's... Morgan, the camera, nearly went over the front of the vehicle. And that was slowly. So... Yeah, oh, no, he's not cooperating now. He's just stuck his head... let's see, there was a little bird on the bush there. On top of the bush is a little Kalahari scrub robin, just in front. He's sitting nicely in the sun, also just enjoying the sunshine. He's a little white eyebrow and a little bit of a red in the tail. And he's a chirpy chap this morning. Nice little Kalahari scrub robin. Literally, as the sun has touched the top of the trees, he shot up to the top just to sit in that morning sunlight. Oh, there he goes. Who else is... Yeah, there's a lesser grey shrike, that little white, just panned sort of a little bit more. You see him there. So we've got another one to show you. He's also waiting for the sun, but a lesser grey shrike. Oh, then there he goes. So he'll be hawking from that particular point. He'll actually be sort of landing, flying, trying to catch an insect, and then coming back to that same perch. No, things are alive in the Kalahari. There's also a very nice example there, Morgan, is all the way to the right, of a sociable weaver's nest in the buffalo thorn. It's pretty much straight out, but there's so many different things to see. So those little sociable weavers, I mean, that's a huge colony. That's like an entire city on there, all on those low branches, and they're also wide awake and busy. You can see them going up and down into the nest. As soon as the sun is up, they've got things to do. They're busy little birds. They've got to fix the nest. They've got to go find food for the chicks. If it's a really good rainy season like we've had, sometimes they'll have multiple clutches in one season. So they've got 2-3 chicks in a nest. They must just keep feeding. So sociable weavers, as their little group, they're very, very busy in a day and constantly working on keeping the nest built the whole year round, so that when it comes time to breed, they've got a place and a structure, and they just move quite quickly from there. There's a couple of hundred living in that nest. It's quite an impressive nest. So Barbara is asking the question, do trees sometimes collapse under the weight of the nest? Yes, they do. Sometimes the branch that's holding that, especially after the rains, as soon as you get really, really heavy rains and that grass gets saturated, that nest suddenly gets even heavier than it actually is. These nests can weigh in well over a ton, the sheer volume of grass that the birds have brought in. So yes, it can break the tree. And then that nest also then gets abandoned. If there are any chicks or anything in that nest, everything just gets abandoned and they carry on. Sometimes they will reuse the nesting material, but not often, and it'll just then sort of go on the ground and slowly over time just rot. But if they do have that unfortunate situation that nest breaks, they just have to start building again and abandon what was in that nest. You can hear the wattled starlings are probably the most vocal of the birds in the area at the moment as well. Flatcat's comment is, it looks like they've balanced it out pretty well. Absolutely, they are amazing sort of architects of that and that design. I mean, all those holes are facing downwards, so the birds are flying up and in to the holes. How they even know, it's like an apartment block, how they even know what level or what floor or what nest they're on amazes me, in that they can literally come flying at speed straight into the hole that belongs to them with no problem at all. So once the colonies don't move too far from there, then birds that leave those colonies will nest relatively close by. They don't actually have a very large dispersal range from what they would call their natal nest. So a bird that's born in that nest doesn't necessarily disperse too far from that nest. And in the winter, it's a perfect place to be, because sort of 5 or 6 of them can fit in one little hole and keep each other warm. Jax is asking, do the weavers have a defense against snakes? So they're quite tiny, the sociable weavers are quite tiny, so all they're going to do is they're just going to alarm at a snake and let it know that they've seen it, and maybe hopefully it'll move on. They're not birds that tend to mob a snake, sort of try and peck at it to try and make it move off. They kind of just accept that it's there and try and keep everyone alert. But they do have a very interesting relationship with a bird called a pygmy falcon, which it's a bit of a quid pro quo, in that they allow the pygmy falcon almost a nest cavity somewhere in that big building. And the pygmy falcon sometimes will harass the snake to keep a snake off, and the pygmy falcon then just feeds its chick lizards most of the time, but every now and again there is also a sociable weaver chick that gets landed up being taken by the pygmy falcon and given to its offspring. So it's a bit of a quid pro quo. They're kind of like bodyguards at the nests, so they will help. And there's actually a very interesting relationship with, speaking about pygmy falcons eating lizards, there's actually a very interesting relationship with the alarm, because the birds will alarm when they see the pygmy falcon, and the little lizard underneath, it's actually a skink, the skink knows that when the birds alarm in a certain way at the pygmy falcon, he must get out of there, because there's a possibility that he can get caught. So the lizard is alert to the sound of the sociable weavers alerting for the pygmy falcon's presence at the nest. So they do all help each other. There's actually, I don't know if we can show. So, Leslie, I got half the question, but I understand, do we have fire in the dry season, is, if I understand the question completely. We can. It depends on the sheer volume of material, so how much grass is available as in a fuel load, whether you would or wouldn't have a fire. So the last couple of years in the Kalahari region, we've had a drought, so we've had very little grass cover, so haven't had a fire for quite a number of years. But with the abundant rains this year, we do certainly anticipate going into the winter season a possibility of fire in certain areas that have got quite high grass loads. And most of the time it will actually be lightning strikes that start those fires. So it's not necessarily a system that needs fire on a regular basis to regenerate, like the low-felt would, like the areas of Djuma and some of the areas of Phinda. They would need regular fire in order for the vegetation to be re-stimulated. The Kalahari doesn't work along the same system, although that fire does put those nutrients back into the soil and does regenerate some of those areas. But it's not something that'll happen sort of annually or every couple of years. Just a beautiful, beautiful scene. And that's one little Dune street. So they can be quite busy. I don't know. I don't know, Morgan, if we can go to the other group of nests on those trees over there, which is probably would be, I don't know if you're seeing, is about 2 o'clock. The other group of nests in that tree. Are you seeing where I'm looking? So just behind this bosque here for you, back that way. No, I think it's just a different angle. Right, no. Morgan sees a totally different angle. I was trying to show you some white-browed sparrow weaver nests in comparison to the sociable weavers, but wrong angle for Morgan on the camera. But it's So we're going to carry on west into the dunes and see how many more antelope we can find you. Maybe we can find you that eland.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land, or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
I'm Nikki here at andBeyond in Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the WildEarth website, head across to the live safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next WildEarth drive.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
There's a grounding earthiness to this place that we feel in our ancestors. It's a place where, believe it or not, we evolved as a human species, and anyone who's come to Africa will understand that. The connectivity that the continent has to the person and to people's souls is next level. I'm thoroughly looking forward to taking you on your next adventure when we explore all the small and big things.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
And stuff like that with the camera, will you get them?
Some of them, yeah.
So we're still looking at the springbuck at the moment. Some of them have decided that they're already going down for a mid-morning snooze. They've clearly been feeding since before sunrise. And now there's a good time for a nap. So with springbuck, and we were talking about them both male and females, and some of the antelope having both male and female having horns. And in the situation of springbuck, you look where they are. So if they have a springbuck lamb, they're hiding it relatively close by. It's literally hiding either at the base of a bush or even just out in the open areas. It's just got a nice sort of dusty brown coloration and almost looks like a stone. The purpose for antelope females having horns is generally to defend their youngsters. So springbuck would defend their young against something like a jackal, and having horns definitely does help that. Also, springbuck are relatively small antelope, and they do sometimes land up having encounters with a pair of jackals. So sometimes a pair of jackal or a group of jackal can work together and pull down a springbuck. So having horns does definitely help. So I've been looking while we're here. We're literally on the edge of a dune. I'm going to try and go around and not disturb all of the tracks, because there's some awesome tracks of everybody that's been quite busy this morning. So we can start with maybe this railroad one. I don't know if you can see. Are we able for that one, Morgan? So this is the track of a millipede, so literally with their hundreds of legs on either side. As they move, they'll make a little two-track like that. So anything that looks like a railroad track is a millipede. And then coming here, there's one line down the middle with lots of little feet on either side. That's tending towards being a centipede. So line down the middle with lots of little legs on either side, because the centipede, their legs sort of sit out sideways. So that's this one over here. I'm not too sure exactly what definition you see. And then these will be from one of those beetles. Probably this one more talky. Then the armored ground beetle, they spread out actually quite far. But yeah, there's been a hive of activity across the dune. A millipede, a beetle. There's little tracks of birds around here, but they're a little bit too small to see. I just want to see if there's anything here. So James is asking the question, has the abundance of water had any negative effect on the animals? I think initially, when some of the areas were heavily flooded and inundated with water, any animal that did have a burrow, if that became saturated, it would be quite a challenge for them. So I think certain small animals that were in burrows in areas where they were in water lines for floods would certainly have been affected. The advantage is that it's a very, very sandy area, so the water definitely drops through the sand relatively quickly. So although we had a flood, within 2 to 3 days that water has disappeared. So it just depends on where those animals manage to get get out of those sort of riverine or flooded areas. So it is amazing to see this dry area just have this random river go through it. So animals that were living in those zones certainly would have been affected. We were just talking earlier about things like the sociable weaver, that sheer weight on that nest, sometimes that results in the nests dropping or breaking. The antelope, the bigger mammals, they tend to be okay. They're just a little bit wet as long as there's not like a sudden cold spell. They tend to do okay. They just get wet, and when they dry out, then they're fine. And they're also able to move to areas of higher ground. A lot of the time, and they've done it in lots of studies, they've actually proved that animals have a sense that there's going to be a flood. They've done, in the Kruger National Park, pre-high volumes of water and floods, the hippos and the crocodiles start getting out of the rivers before it's even flooded. So the animals do have a bit more of a sense of what's coming. I think they're a lot more in tune with the weather than we are, and sometimes they do make it to higher ground. They've even done researches and studies with elephants that have known that there's big weather coming and have moved to higher ground. I've certainly seen it with tortoises. The tortoises tend to move slightly, they tend to move actually a lot more pre-having some rain. So keep your questions coming. So we're going to carry on as previously planned to carry on heading west through the dunes. We're going to send you across to Lauren.
And this is fine.
It's fine. It's fine. You can tell him it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, we're live, but nothing's popping up. Okay, I believe you have us back now. I was just talking to Mr. Voss, who is in FC with me. We have a fish eagle here at Gowrie Dam. Isn't that wonderful? You don't always see the fish eagles here, but it's lovely when you do. And you can't miss it, even when you look further away. That black, yeah, it's brown actually, but it looks black and white from far away, and you can tell that body shape immediately. You have an eagle. Now, I just wanted to touch base on what I mentioned earlier. And if any of you are interested, there's a wonderful website called wildme.org. And it's run by WildAid, I think. And they also run the Wild Book. Now, if you go onto this website, it's all about conservation, meeting machine learning. And it's software that uses artificial intelligence for conservation research. So that's what I was referring to, identifying animals. It was a great question earlier from Sam. And of course, it's all about, well, fighting against extinction. And you can click on the platforms, and they've actually got 53 different species that you can look into the programs and identify across the world. So they have the Fluke book, which is all about whales and identifying whales through their flukes. There's the Whale Shark program. There's the Manta Matcher program, which I was part of for 8 years. There's a wild book for zebras, giraffes, lynx, even giant sea bass. Yes, giant sea bass. Jaguars, wild dogs, skunks, and even sea dragons in Australia. So it's a fantastic platform. There's lots and lots of resources and literature there as well that you can read for the different algorithms. Now, I am not tech-minded in any way, shape, or form, but the algorithm that's programmed allows the computer to assist in identifying the individual. So for the Manta Matcher, you can just take a photo of the underside of a manta. It must be clear, and it must be the underside, the white part, not the top side, and you just submit it at mantamatcher.org, and the computer program, the algorithm, actually identifies what individual you are looking at. Isn't that incredible? So if any of you are interested, it's a website definitely worth looking around. You can have a read and learn what's going on in terms of technology meeting conservation. We live in a technical world now, whether we like it or not. Our life is controlled by technology, from our phone to our laptop to, well, we couldn't run WildEarth without technology, and therefore we can use it to our advantage, and we can use that to help conserve animals. Join in that battle against extinction, and it's wildme.org. I just thought I would expand on that in the question that we got earlier. Now, I've only ever seen one fish eagle at Gowrie Dam. I could be wrong, but normally they do come in pairs. They need their other half in a monogamous relationship, but I generally only ever tend to see one. Lisa, they are in monogamous partnerships, and it does tend to be real monogamy, if you like, because, well, birds are notorious for having affairs, shall we say, but they hunt alone, and it is predominantly fish, of course, hence the name fish eagle, because they've got very, very strong talons. They're actually capable of lifting prey up to 2 kilograms out of the water. Not just on land, but actually out of the water using their talons, which is a remarkable ability. But they will also prey on birds around the water holes. I had an incredible sighting with BK a while ago when we watched a fish eagle hunt a African green pigeon. So maybe doves, pigeons, or smaller birds around water holes they will also hunt. They will also take on reptiles, be it geckos or lizards, especially monitor lizards, water monitor lizards that you will find around the water body, and even small mammals. So they have a broad diet, but yes, it's predominantly fish, hence the name fish eagle. And when you watch them hunt fish, it's just remarkable. They use their keen eyesight. Birds are primarily visual. That's the sort of more dominant of all their senses. and they're able to spot movement. That's why they perch up high, look down on the water body, and as soon as they spot movement, they will swoop down, use their talons, and pick up the fish out of the water. So you've got to go against gravity, you've got to go against the drag of the water, and also picking up a fish, especially a large fish like catfish, that fish is going to be moving and struggling and fighting for its life. So not only have you got to catch the fish, you've got to hold on to that fish while it's moving, and of course bring it to the tree until it very sadly suffocates. Now that's a lot of power. Very powerful birds. And of course they have one of the most iconic calls. You can't mistake it. And going back to ID, you can have identification programs for birds. Think of the Mara Raptor project. That's a fantastic project up in the Masai Mara, where they are using lots of tagging and different technology to monitor the Marshall eagle pairs. And I'll come back to that just a little bit later on, but for now we're going to send you to Deirdre.
So, welcome back to Tswalu. We're just driving through a section of sour grass, and you can actually see the range, just the sheer abundance of grass. Half of our roads have actually almost disappeared. They've just been covered with the sour grass. Also, with months of being in lockdown and not necessarily driving every road, some of them have become so overgrown. We just had a jackal, and he was running down one of these channels, down the sort of the tire track, and you could see he couldn't even see how to get out. He ran down the road for quite a bit, and all we could see was his two little ears running in one of the channels. But at the moment, that jackal, there's a sheer abundance of those quails in the grasses, so good for him. The rodent numbers will increase when you have really good grasses, not necessarily the sour grass, but just grass in abundance at the moment. So we're still heading out west, but we're heading towards one of the more calcrete pan areas. So sort of this band of sour grass, and then the odd blackthorn. Well, I shouldn't say the odd blackthorn, the dominant plant at the moment, and then the odd shepherd's bush. But it does make it quite a challenge at the moment. A lot of the roads have just disappeared. Even the guide to the tracker says go that way, and you can't even see the road. So we'll stick to the road that we can see, and we are aiming to try and get to one of the calcrete pans. Generally there's a good abundance of general game around those pans, but certainly with this height of this grass, it is challenging to see some of the smaller things. Little steenbok, sometimes you're just seeing the horns and the two little ears sticking out of the grass. Oh, we had a nice, let me show you this one. We did the flower yesterday, but it wasn't really much. It was this wild sesame. We just want to show you. I'm going to turn it around so you can have a good look at that wild sesame. And then when we've had a nice shot of that, we're going to send you across to Steve at Djuma.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Bafusuk. Welcome to Big Dam. And welcome to two leopards. That is Tlangula and Nsele, I believe. Nsele is easily recognized as she has only got one eye. Now, Charles from Hunter's Moon has been following them, so he's identified them for me. How special is this? We've come all the way to the north to follow up on this. It's my first time seeing both of these two, so that takes my leopard tally on this area to 30 different animals. apparently there's a little bit of a relationship going on between these two, so we might be able to view that. Last time Tristan saw Nsele, she was mating with Tingana. I tell you, the blacksmith lapwing is not impressed. Many of you might be concerned that she's only got one eye. She's been around for a while and still seems to be doing just fine. Of course, there's a disadvantage, but leopards are pretty well advantaged in the first place. Be able to see the size difference between male and female here. Up onto the dam wall, or they're going to hide in the thickets below. Hidden. Try a real position, get you another view. This is Big Dam in the north. We did a wonderful sunset from here the other day. There are two other vehicles with us in the sighting, so we're just going to have to navigate this properly. She's just coming up on the wall there, a bit more on the right. So I think we've got her. Sorry, the pole, everybody. There she is. And right in the way of the pole because of the potential for rain. The rest I don't know. A lot of these injuries happen without us being there, but it was probably a fight of some sort. A claw in the eye or maybe a hoof. I'm really not sure. Do have an eye doctor nearby who's pretty good at these things, so I wonder if he knows how she lost her eye. Charles, how did she lose her eye? Do you know? Claw. You reckon it was a claw from a fight? The eye doctor suggests it was a fight, everybody, so hard to say without physically seeing it, but that's what makes the most sense. An animal's hoof could definitely damage an eye, but it wouldn't rip it out. Warthog tusk could damage, but wouldn't rip it out necessarily. You don't find female leopards tackling powerful warthogs very often. Okay, we're going to need to try reposition so we can get you a shot of these cats, but unfortunately there's a little bit of a traffic jam at the moment as we watch this crocodile submerged in the water. Okay, we're going to try and get to a new position and we'll catch up with you shortly.
It's no secret that nature can heal. Some of our WildEarth viewers are finding solace in the outdoors close to their homes during lockdown.
This is how I keep myself busy during lockdown. Beautiful little jumping spot.
I love walking in the open spaces near my home. Provides a moment of peace in a crazy world.
This is my fire escape with some of the birds I get to see. That's what it's like in New York City during lockdown.
Being in nature helps me to cope with the challenges of life and helps me to be humble and grateful.
It's magical watching everything turn into a winter wonderland as the snow softly falls.
Been doing lots of walking, dog walking, outside at parks.
This is my Ridgeback Drake. Our little slice of paradise is a provincial park called Hopewell Ross.
Connecting with nature is critical to stay positive during these tough times. WildEarth encourages you all to find time to escape to nature.
Oh, my dear, I do find you most attractive when you're covered in bird lice. Oh, Charles, I love it when you peck at my head and clean the bird lice off me. Let me say hello to Barry here. Hello, Barry. I'm just going to examine you for some bird lice. Charles, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. Oh, all right. I shall look for bird lice on myself then.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want. The wildebeest cross, is it trying? The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky, lucky wildebeest. You have another day to live.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back, everybody. My first time seeing both of these cats. Klangula, big relaxed male leopard. Oh, here she comes. We're ready for it. It could be time, everybody. She could wave herself in front of him in interest, or she could go and hunt. It all depends on where they are. We haven't seen them mate yet. Might be the early stages of romance. She's pretending she's not interested by looking left, looking right. Now she's going to rub her head and her tail. Oh, he's not interested. Maybe he's a bit camera shy. Now, as if she is in heat, the farther along in heat she becomes, the more sort of excitable she becomes. She's not showing too much of that behavior right now, but have a look at the size difference. You don't normally see male and female hanging out together, unless there is, there we go, he's claiming the territory. You don't see them hanging out together unless there is a form of a relationship. Now, if that is her urine there, he will grimace and show a nice. No, he won't. Remember, this is live, everybody. We don't know what to expect next. Seems like they're more hungry than they are excited. Yeah, Stacey, it's very similar to lions. Very similar to lions. It's just not normally out in the open as much. Lions seem to be a little more, less ashamed out in the open. Leopards, they will do it in the open as well, but I honestly haven't spent much time with leopards mating. Spent a lot of time with lions. But the times I have had leopards mating, it's always been in a thicket. I've always heard it, I've never really seen it. But I know many, Sable, I'm sure you've filmed quite a bit of this, out in the open. So the leopards of these areas are very, very relaxed, so they're not too concerned. But it's hard to say. They don't look like they're very engaging at the moment. But we're going to have to change position as we have a vehicle about to move into frame. And it's just in a little bit of an awkward spot, everybody, because it's on the dam wall and it's either straight across or all the way around. There's no off-roading here or anything like that, so we're going to see if we can get another view. But at the moment, 2 leopards walking on the dam wall, pretty special. We're blessed to be providing you with some signal from up here. Let's try to go around then, shall we? Ooh, hold on. Okay, well, we're going to try to get you another view of these 2 cats together. And in the meantime, back over to DJ over in the Tswalu Kalahari.
So, welcome back to Tswalu. I believe Steve's just repositioning, hoping that you get another view of those mating leopards. How awesome is that? So, we had a wildebeest. That was a blue wildebeest bull, and he's just decided that he's left. So, we've literally just driven straight. We've only been driving west on the same road, and look at the terrain, completely different. So we sort of stayed in a flatter area, and now it's a completely different scenario. There's different grasses. There's majority of the bushes are actually the grey camel thorn, and there's a couple of raisin bushes out in this area. So literally the difference of 1 kilometre across the same types, it must be just a slight sand change, and you get a completely different thing. There's a lark on this bush right here to the left. Maybe we can. He's a very chirpy chap. It looks like the fawn-coloured lark. They generally also very vocal. We get lots of lark species here, and they're often difficult to tell apart because they're all brown. That's hence the name LBJs, little brown jobs. But the fawn-coloured larks are generally the ones that sit up in the bushes and quite vocal. We get the long-billed lark, we get the... Oh, now I can't run them off the top of my head. Sclaters, I know we get sclaters lark. Spike-keeled lark is the one I was thinking of. So with them, that's a territorial call. So he'll have also a huge song repertoire, and that's also to try and impress the female. So he'll try and learn lots of different birds within his area. He'll try and learn all their different calls, and then he adds them to his repertoire, and that's supposed to impress a female. So the more different sort of notes and jumbles that he can put together in his extended song are whether a female is attracted to him or not. Sometimes it's also a strategy, the same as the robin from this morning. There's a strategy into why they do it as well, is that if they learned multiple different birds calling from their territory, when they do call like that, it almost sounds like the territory is occupied, which allows them for more space for themselves if all the other birds think, oh, well, there's one of that species already and one of that species already. So we'll carry on driving. It should be quite a nice area to drive through and see what we get. So we're going to send you across to Phinda while we continue out to our Calcrete pan.
Well, welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. And we have, on our bumble this morning, come into the southern grasslands of the reserve, and we managed to find this herd of buffalo, which seems like it's just woken up, or started to stand up and rouse themselves from where they spent the night, and they're slowly walking towards us here. At least a few of them are, and they may just be given feeding for the morning. But also, there's a couple of them on my left, which I don't know if you can see. We'll show you in a moment. There's a beautiful patch of mud here. Nice big sort of open area where it's been raining and filled up with... They might all just be coming here for a mud bath. We'll just have a check and see what they do. A few of them already, some of the leaders of the charge, already settled themselves, cooling themselves in this beautiful, beautiful, cool mud. Look how that buffalo that's standing up has got that shiny mud all over its back. So we're going to spend some time with these buffalo and see what they get up to for the morning. But for now, we're going to send you straight back to Steve and his 2 leopards.
Well, everybody, we've come all the way around onto the other side. Still, our leopards are more interested in whatever's going on in the bushes themselves. Nice long distance visual here. And lost. Isn't that amazing? Just a small amount of grass, you can imagine. We know exactly where the cat is, and yet difficult to see. Adrian, the tall grass works twofold, makes both animals more difficult to see. So some animals will do well. Steenbok duiker can hide. Much easier to hide youngsters. It's one of the reasons many of our animals have babies this time of year. Waterbuck, buffalo, so as to be able to hide their youngsters. But what it does also do is it makes it impossible for the prey to see the predators. And so yes, you'll see an increase in predation of certain species, such as wildebeest and zebra. But predators rely on quite a number of senses for hunting, and leopards rely a lot on sight. It would make it a lot more difficult for them to find prey. They'd have to spend a lot more time in trees and on termite mounds looking for movement, looking for animals, and maybe that's why they're on the dam wall, staring like this, looking for some movement. Because once they detect movement, they will then move in and try and catch whatever it is that they've seen. But the grass, as I said, works in both ways. It makes it hard for both animals to see. The lions definitely seem to do a lot better in the longer grass. But then the longer grass also benefits the strength and fitness of the buffalo. Okay, down they go. Of course, they're going to do what leopards have always done for me. They're going to go mate in the thickets. Go try to get up onto the dam wall there. Maybe we can get a view of them coming down. Okay, well, we're going to try get another view and send you back over to Phinda with the nice big buffalo.
Well, I hope Steve manages to track down those leopards again. But we are back with some stripes here at Phinda now. We've just spotted this herd of zebra that's popped over the hill to walk towards where these buffalo are wallowing in the mud. And these
Sorry about the technical issues, everybody. We haven't yet found our cats, though. We're trying. I think they went down here somewhere. It's going to be very difficult to find them in the thickets. Might hear something, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to be able to see it. We've got something. Seb can see something. Here we go. Let's listen. They're definitely mated, and that's how that's always been for me with leopards mating. It's always in the thicket. Even when Mawati and Hukumuri were competing over Shadulu, each time there was mating happening. It always happened quite obscured. Nice spot, Seb. I can't see anything.
Just a movement, but now it's really flat. There are branches moving there.
Jessica, generally there's no need for eating now. They're completely overwhelmed by the need to mate. When it's early stages, there might be some interest to eat, but as soon as the pheromones, the sexual drive takes over, then generally there's no eating at all for a few days. And what eventually drives them apart is the sex drive diminishes to a point where the hunger drive is overwhelming, and they go off in separate ways to go and eat it. One of the reasons why mating pairs of lions or leopard are more dangerous, or potentially more dangerous, than they are individually or at other times, because their hunger drive eventually gets to a point where it outweighs everything, including their general fear. So normally a lion and a leopard has got a general fear of man, but when they've gone through a sexual relationship for a few days, and then their hunger overwhelms them to a point where they forget about everything else and they just think about food. So it is something you have to be very aware of. We'll try and get you another view of them. They're somewhere in the thickets. As always, as predicted, they would always get together in the bushes. Well, we're going to try and send you back over to Phinda and see if they've still got their buffalo.
Welcome back. Been watching these buffaloes, and one of the buffalo bulls has come and charged right into this center of this group of cows and calves that were wallowing in the mud, and he's claimed it for himself. Very, very greedy behavior early in the morning. But it just shows how hot it is already. It's 7:30 here at Phinda, and these buffaloes have not even considered grazing yet. They have woken up and gone directly to the mud wallow, which is not usually what their habit would be. Normally buffalo in the early morning get up from where they've rested and graze for a couple of hours, taking advantage of the coolness until it gets too hot. But it's just a scorcher today here. So I think these buffaloes will probably have to find some shade a little bit later and maybe graze towards the sort of shadier riverbed side, which is close to the water, and do most of their grazing there today, because it's very, very oppressively hot. I think we're expecting about 37 or 38 degrees here on andBeyond Phinda. Look how they're all trying to squash into that one little puddle. Definitely not space enough for all of them. But as long as they all get a turn, so Faith, you have asked, are buffalo a part of the antelope family? Of antelope family, and for the bovine family, so cows and other buffalo. There's other species of buffalo in Asia and one other species in Africa, the forest buffalo. They're more closely related to that family. They are part of the ungulates, though. So in terms of a broader classification, buffaloes and antelope are part of the same order, which is ungulata, which is any sort of animal with a cloven hoof, with a hoof that is split in the middle. And what they do have in common, all these ungulates, is that they are all ruminants. So what they do, and you can see a couple of these buffaloes ruminating right now. Rumination is a digestive strategy where their stomachs are, or they actually have 4 stomachs. They're not even broken into 4 parts. There's 4 separate chambers of their digestive system. And how it works is these buffalo will graze this grass and it will go into their first stomach, and then they'll regurgitate that a little bit later, that same grass, and they'll chew it again. That's known as ruminating, and this just breaks it down even further. So they're able to extract much more nutrients from the grass by chewing it twice, and by the grass going to 4 separate chambers of the stomach. It's very much more efficient than just chewing it once, like we do. We aren't ruminants. We have just a single tract that way than, for example, an elephant who consumes grass and it just goes into one big fermentation chamber, and as a result, elephants extract less nutrients per kilogram than these buffalo, which means that elephants have to eat more. So it's just a different strategy in how they extract nutrients from their food. These buffaloes spend more time ruminating, so more energy spent on ruminating, but they get more out of their food. Animals like elephants and rhino have to spend more time eating greater volumes of food, but they don't have to spend time ruminating. And that's why certain antelope and certain buffalo, or all buffalo and most antelope, their dung is very fine. If you break open their dung, they've got almost microscopic pieces of vegetation in their dung because it's been broken down so finely, whereas an elephant or a rhino, if you look at their dung, they've got almost full pieces of grass and sticks in there because it hasn't really been digested so effectively. It's interesting how different animals have found different ways to survive in terms of evolution. But we're going to stick with these buffalo, maybe for a little bit longer, maybe we'll continue on our bumble. But for now, we're going to send you across to another live location.
Spot the odd man out in that group. So somebody else has also found an interesting way on how to survive, is he just attaches himself to the herd of wildebeest. So that's one red hartebeest male, and he's in amongst that herd of wildebeest, and why not? He can feed and rely on them to be just as alert as he needs to be, but allows him actually more time to feed, because they're all going to be looking up, and he's also going to take his turn to look up, but he definitely has to look up less if he is in a herd of wildebeest. So there are quite a few calves in there as well, so it's a breeding herd, and I did see quite a few of them. Actually, they were already lying down. So I heard you were talking about families, so the wildebeest and the hartebeest both belong to the subfamily Alcelaphinae is their group. And that fits the Bontebok, the Blesbok, and the Tswalu, as well as the different species of wildebeest. It's so they are here on the edge of the Kalkriet Pan. There is a couple of springbuck as well there. I think Morgan can show you. Pretty much at the moment, it's only really the doves coming in to drink, but it is a very popular pan for also the sandgrouse to come and drink. As we got here, one of the falcons, it was either a Lana or a peregrine falcon, flew off. So it's a round, and sometimes they'll come in for the finches that are on the edge of the water. They'll try and come in and swoop as the finch is busy drinking to grab them for a meal. So we will be on alert for that. Here you see the wildebeest calves in the middle there are really, really cute. They're all standing up now. So the springbuck themselves, they're in a different group. They're in the group or tribe Antelopinae, and that is generally the gazelles and the dwarf antelope, the smaller antelope, klipspringer, Sunni, those there. So the springbuck look like they're making their way to the water slowly. Springbuck's not an animal that needs to drink water on a daily basis. They are getting a lot of moisture from the food that they eat. But if they are in an area, they will come down and drink. But it's not necessarily that they would be classified as a water-independent animal. They don't have to drink water every single day. So we're going to stand by here a little bit more and see if anything else comes to the water.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a WildEarth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
We stopped as the dusk was settling, and there was a zebra mare underneath the bush. She was lying down. We didn't really know what was happening, and then we saw it.
Everybody, there's a zebra giving birth there. There's a zebra giving birth. This is a zebra giving birth. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, you clever mare. Well done. It's born, everyone. It's born and it's alive and it looks fine.
This was, of course, an unusual sighting. Normally, herbivores like impala and wildebeest and zebra will give birth during the middle of the day. This is when their predators like lions and hyenas are fast asleep. But as this little foal took its first steps, the dying embers of the day had just gone over the western horizon, and it was just the time that the hyenas and lions were starting to get active and go out foraging. This is why we didn't light up the sighting, of course. It may have compromised the zebra's eyes and at the same time attracted those hyenas and lions to the activity.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that. It's truly, truly magical.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Well, as I said before, leopards are going to spend lots of time in the trees and elevated. They don't like it in the wet grass. So after that last mating session, and Sally went straight up this really big leadwood tree. She's having a little bit of a park off there, and we haven't seen Hlangula anywhere since. We're going to have patience and hang around and see if anything else transpires with these two. We're in an area of Pufusuk that we get good signal, which is a bonus. Now we just need a good visual. Okay, well, it sounds like Ngala's managed to survive some of the rain. Let's send you over to Dan to say good morning.
Good morning, everybody, and finally welcome to andBeyond Ngala this morning. We've been fighting a bit of weather. It seems like the sun has come out in full force now, though, which is really nice. We've got a few ground hornbills here. I mean, look at the red and the black there. There's quite a couple of them moving around in and out of the pans. There's also some woolly neck storks that are moving around. Some of them are flying, in fact, around. There's one at the top of the tree there. I mean, that's the only one that's standing still for now. You can see, oh, another two into picture. Oh, right into the top of the tree. Lovely. See those, the white on the front of it, the white at the back, and the very dark wings? Oh, really putting on a show as we come on live this morning. But good morning, everybody. I'm Daniel Fisher, and on camera this morning we've got OD. And as I said, it's been a bit of a slow start this morning. Even yesterday we got a bit of rain, which kept us out of action. But I think the plans for this morning, we'll stick with the birds for a little bit. It's quite pretty. There are a few barn swallows and things that are catching some insects as we speak. I'm going to head into the south of the reserve this morning, trying to see if we can follow up on any lions. The roads, this road particularly, is quite sandy, so we're going to try and stick to it before we start doing too much damage on the softer, wetter roads. And you'll see with all the rain that we've had, these woolly neck storks that we're currently looking at will be hanging in this longer grass. It's almost become a bit of a marsh in the past couple of days. They'll be feeding on all sorts of frogs that might have been calling. I mean, lots of frogs that have been calling, lots of frogs that have been mating, and there is a large abundance of frogs around. These ground hornbills also moving through the long grass, going through the marshes, looking for anything, even some snakes that also might be feeding on those frogs. There'll be a variety of snakes that will be hunting in these marshes, chameleons. Oh, that hornbill looked like it actually caught something. You see how it, first kill of the morning. See how it kind of put its beak right in, or its bill right into the ground, picked something up, maybe even stabbed it. Once it was dead, just threw it up and straight down the gullet. I mean, the contrasting colors are quite beautiful with these birds, the red face and the black bodies. And I'm sure you've seen them before, but even when they fly, they've got those magnificent white underwings. I mean, don't sell this bird short, though. Look at the size of that bill. Super big, super strong, and an incredible weapon, in fact. Used to take out all sorts of prey, from tortoises. You'll see maybe if they find a tortoise there, they will kind of roll it on its side, and they'll use that big strong beak to stick it right into those crevices, the front or the back, or where the feet come out, and they will pull a tortoise right out of its shell. Even small antelope, hares, at certain times of the year, these big strong birds will be able to take. They're actually incredible predators. I mean, people don't think that birds, particularly ones that hang around on the floor like this, and people mostly associate like eagles and raptor birds with being predators, but don't sell these ones short. Odie, the one that's in the road actually looks like it might be pecking at something. Let's see if we can have a look at that. I wonder what it's found. Oh, look at that. I wonder if that's not a tortoise we were just talking about. I'm going to move a little bit forward here, trying not to spook it. Maybe. Let's have a look. I mean, that's quite interesting. You see how it's like kind of fighting with it, pecking at it, trying to throw it up, maybe trying to kill it, in fact. Let's see what happens when the other two come and join. Maybe there's going to be a bit of a tussle over the meal. Let's have a look. And they're big birds. I mean, they're standing almost about a meter tall, walking in a line. I mean, the one in the front is very likely going to try and keep it away from everyone else. And they're just walking in the road here. And I mean, just to show you how much rain we've had and how much the grass has been enjoying the rain. I mean, that what we call the middle manaki, but the grass in the middle of the road has been growing so much, it's even making those birds disappear. And I was saying, those birds are standing about a meter tall, so this grass is just shorter than a meter. Let's see if I can move forward. It'll be fascinating to see if we can't find out what that one in the front has actually got in its bill. It looked to me like quite a round shape, maybe a small tortoise, maybe a terrapin. I mean, a tortoise would be preferable to these ground hornbills, simply because the terrapins can have they've got the excrete uric acid, which smells incredibly bad. Adrian, are there other ground hornbill species? So around here we've got several hornbills that we see, but only one type of ground hornbill, and this is the ones that we see in Africa, and they are quite endangered, in fact, due to habitat loss and habitat destruction. They are pretty endangered, and we try and take, let's see if we can. Oh, are you going to turn around again? But in Africa, this is the only ground hornbill, or in South Africa at least, that we get. But the other hornbills that we find around will be, or around this area, yellow-billed hornbill, red-billed hornbill, southern grey hornbill. Oh, is it a giant African landsnail? Odie says he can. Oh, it is indeed. Dropping it there. I wonder if it's not trying to crack that shell. Shouldn't be too difficult. looks like it's almost playing with it. I mean, it's not like that snail's going to be running away anytime soon. It's got it in its bill. It just needs to crack that shell and get to the really good part. I mean, similar to the tortoise. You got to get underneath that shell. You don't really want that shell. So I'm going to keep going a little bit. I mean, have a look on the right-hand side, just over here. I'm going to stop for a moment. Look how close we are to these woolly neck stalks that we were talking about earlier. You can really see that black, and it's got a slightly red tinge to the bill. A little bit tricky to see from the camera. A little bit of preening and grooming this morning. Oh, showing us the wings. You're going to fly? I mean, so while walking through this long grass, the wings can get quite wet, and you'll see them often putting their wings out to dry. It's not so comfortable to fly with wet wings. It also adds quite a lot of weight. I mean, birds are designed incredibly well with hollow bones and things to create light weight, so that it makes flying quite a lot easier. So just that extra weight of the water can be quite a hindrance. So they'll have to dry themselves. It's also... Oh, sorry, let me just have a look. What's that flying there? It's very tricky for me to see. It's a bit far. It might be a battalier. I don't even know. I can't see. It's too far. And maybe a Warburg's eagle. It's just a little too far for me to see, I'm afraid. Okay, so while I try and ID that bird, I'm going to keep going along the road here. I mean, it's been a late start. Let's see if we can't find any fresh signs of any lions this morning in a new part of the reserve. In the meantime, I'm going to send you to some warthogs at Tswalu. So look what we have here. There's a nice big male warthog. It's quite surprising to see him. He's just been feeding slowly in this open area. Now it's like he realizes we're here for the first time, but we've been watching him for a while, and he's actually unfazed, which is amazing. He's quite a nice big chap. He's not that far from the water, but he's just happily munching away at the grass. It's a nice little... We're going to send you across to Steve.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, we might have our leopardess coming down the tree. Not sure. Remember, this is live. Anything could happen, but her intentions are, oh my goodness, it's so high. Now, she's probably about 25 feet off the ground right now. Now, for many of you, that is a very, very high distance. But leopards do it quickly. They think about it for a moment and, oh, don't go that way, my darling. See, now she's at that stage. She's okay, ready, and go. And she's gone. So now we're just going to try and listen, because it's possible it's been, 15 minutes or 10 minutes since her and her consort had a little bit of an affair, and it's possible it might be time. There's some growling happening. Okay, short and sweet. Today is going to be a day that I'm going to get leopards mating in the open, everybody. It's got to happen. One of our landowner friends as well that have joined us said they've never seen leopards mating before. Today is the day they're not going anywhere. So hopefully they'll come out of the thickets. But that is leopard habitat, everybody. That's where they give birth to their babies, and that's where they stash their food, and that's where they choose to have their love affairs, in the thickets. And I've heard that many times in my life, but I've yet to physically witness it properly. David Gitu in the Mara, I think it was last year, the year before, I can't remember, he had the most amazing leopard sighting. obviously couldn't off-road in the area he was in, and they just happened to mate in this tiny little gap in the bushes. It was the smallest gap, but he got the whole thing perfectly positioned. So maybe we will have that luck today. So what happens with male lions as well as with male leopards is as soon as a female starts moving, he immediately follows her because the pheromones are so strong. Just wants to sort of engage with her every time. And it's her who instigates. And eventually, so it goes from being every sort of 7 to 8 to 10 minutes to eventually slowing down to every 15, 20, 30, and then eventually hunger overwhelms them and they go their separate ways. Growling again. So I'm interested to know what possibly happened, because she was mating with Tingana a little while ago. Not sure if she had any cubs. Bear in mind, females ideally should be mating with the dominant male within the area or territory they choose to occupy, because he will be the one to protect those cubs. If a female, both male or lion, both female lion or leopard have cubs from a male that is not the dominant male, they do have the risk of them being killed. So from an energy point of view, it is in their best interests to be copulating with the dominant, biggest and strongest male. Obviously, he has the better chance of protecting. Can't just be having cubs constantly and losing them. That doesn't make any sense. Peter, anywhere from 3 to 4 days, depending on the couple. I don't know how long they started. We haven't been able to come up into this area for a few days. And by the sounds of it, it was the first that the other landowners who found them have seen of it. But in saying that, you can see where they're hanging out. I mean, unless you're here listening, you wouldn't know how long this has been going on for unless we'd spent time with them for days in advance. By the sounds of things, it's pretty fresh. Sounds of things, it might be the first morning. When they first came together, there wasn't too much excitement, but now that was 2 times in the space of a few minutes, which means it's very shortly spaced. This means that this might have only just started. Sorry about the visuals, everybody, but this is wildlife doing what they do in their natural environment. Jerome, it's about 90 days, plus minus 90 days gestation, closer to 100. So anywhere 3 months, you could expect cubs, but remember that you might not know there's cubs for a bit of time, unless you find the female. Obviously, she'll start showing sort of breeding signs, a big belly and mammary glands that'll be enlarged. And then after she's had cubs, you'll probably find the suckle marks. That requires constant tracking and constant sort of observation of the individual, and I haven't seen this female before. So it'll be interesting to follow up on these movements. But also, mating doesn't guarantee pregnancy. Induced ovulation, lots of mating takes place, anywhere between 2,500 and 3,000 matings can take place in a period of 4 days. It's an enormous amount. And it doesn't always guarantee fertilization of the eggs. But hopefully they'll move a bit. That's what happens, they do move. No, Hannah, there's absolutely no parental care in cats from the males. The important role they play is the territory that offend and keep out usurpers, keep out other males that might harm. So they do play that role. They will fight and compete with other males, but they don't provide for the youngsters at all. If anything, they'll steal food from the mother and even from the cubs when the cubs start catching food. It's kind of their tax, if you will, for being in his territory.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off. It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
This is the first leucistic zebra I have ever seen in my life.
Oh, here comes a lion. Run, little guy. Go on.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it?
Has it just pretended to be dead? That is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is this fact that we're coming to you live on the Chobe River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
Look at that little zebra about to be born. There's the head. Oh, you clever mare. Well done.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
So this dung beetle didn't go to dung ball rolling school because he's just got a clump of dung. It's not even in a ball at all. There are two of them there trying to push and squabble over that dung ball. Let me just move. But it's not round at all. It's just, it's like a flat pancake. And he's trying as hard as he can to roll it. I'm just gonna, there we go, Morgan, is that good? He's trying as hard as he can to roll it, but it's not really the right shape. And I think there's you do get dung beetles that try and steal the ball from the other one, so it doesn't look like a female that's attached herself to the ball and he's just rolling. It actually looks like two males trying to fight over that clump of dung. So I think that's what's happening, is that the one is trying to get it away from the other one as quickly as possible, and the other one wants to steal it. But now you can actually see he's digging it, he's starting to bury it. I'm going to open the grass, so just give me a second. I'll get out, then I'll open the grass for the camera so that you can actually see how he's going about trying to get and dig underneath this ball in order to bury it. So hopefully I don't disturb them. But look how he's pushing. He's literally using the top part of his head as a shovel to bring the sand out. It's quite a shame. There's one piece of grass in the way that I do want to help him, but that's not really the point. So it may well be a female now that she's busy maybe trying to lay an egg on the dung ball. And it does look like it would have possibly been wildebeest dung that they've just taken a clump of instead of actually rolling it into a ball. There's also flies already sort of on the ball. Oh, he's a busy chap. Underneath, turn around, dig, shovel, and there he comes out pushing with his sand. Are you managing there, Morgan? There we go. Isn't that just amazing? Just strength, sheer strength. So he's able to push 100 times his body weight. Stanley is asking, is there a reason why he would roll the dung ball so badly? I actually don't think he's even made an attempt to roll this. I think he's literally just found a piece of dung that he's able to move, and all he's going to do is bury it. So this might just be like almost like a larder, like a food storage, as in it's a piece that's food, and maybe he'd spend a bit more time focusing on one that would become a brood ball where the female would maybe lay an egg in the ball. But yeah, he was obviously quite confident that he could bury that piece, but it looked really, really awkward, even to try and just get up this little sandy ridge of the edge of the road. They tumbled down a few times. But I mean, he's properly shoveling, not concerned by the fact that we're right on top of him at all. He literally, so their eyes are positioned almost, he sticks his head underneath the sand. So his eyes he can see upwards and downwards. There we go. He's just sort of trying to turn it around a bit. So he's put it in the hole a little bit, and now he's trying to sort of wedge it in a little bit better. He's moving it around, and now he's trying to get underneath it to turn. So they basically dig the soil out from underneath it, push it out, and then the ball hopefully drops in that hole. Yep, now he's just, he said, move please, I'm just shifting the thing. So now he's going around on the other side, digging a little bit more to try and get it buried. So I'd probably say this one's potentially more of a food storage. He's really busy. Maybe that's a bit better. Oh. Very, very interesting interaction here. I'm still trying to determine if both are males or if one's a female, one's a male. But I'm not a good sexer of dung beetles, if that sounds strange. But it doesn't look like this one's made any attempt to lay an egg on the ball, so it might be that they literally are fighting over the ball. He's stopped now. Amazing little creatures. Not exactly the nicest job description, basically. His job description is to fly around the whole day just looking for poop. But an essential one nonetheless. So burying the dung adds those nutrients to the soil, and also sometimes helps reduce the fly load as well. One of the reasons why they wanted to import dung beetles to Australia for all the cattle was in order to bury dung underground and have a lower fly load. So Maggie has asked the question, will he cover the dung with sand or will he leave it like that? He does actually try and bury it completely. So he's maybe just taking a little bit of a break. That was quite a bit of effort that he put in there. And maybe still potentially, if that other one is a male, having a little bit of a tussle as to whose ball it actually is. But they do tend to bury it completely. The brood balls, where the female lays the egg inside and it's a bit more of a round ball, those they tend to bury probably anywhere up to about 20 to 30 centimeters under the ground, that you'll see them, especially some of the larger dung beetle species. So some don't even roll balls, some just literally bury dung at the dung pile itself, literally just bury underneath the pile. And then there's some that do no work at all. They literally just steal somebody else's dung. So we're going to leave them be so he can carry on doing what he does best, and we're going to send you across to Ngala.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, just going along the road here, we had a little bit of a traffic jam here. We had a wonderful dazzle of zebra up ahead of us, and it looks like they've just stopped to have a drink at one of the puddles in the road. And they're moving in like a single file, one behind the other, in quite orderly fashion, in fact. And they seem to have stopped. I don't think they're feeding on the grass just yet. I think they have just stopped. That one in the left there seems to be the stallion just behind that bush. He seems to be calling the shots. You'll often find him coming towards the back of the dazzle, kind of acting as protection. And although it seemed like they were quite carefree in walking along the road, it can be quite dangerous. I mean, particularly lions will be a super threat to these zebras, and they could just be sitting under one of the trees, and nonchalantly these zebras might walk past, and they could use that as a serious opportunity to catch some food for the morning. And I mean, have a look at those stripes as well. I mean, there's so many different theories as to why zebras have stripes. And up in East Africa, the theory is so that it can confuse tsetse flies as to where to land. So a tsetse fly is a fly that kind of bites, and you can get a sleeping sickness, or humans can get a sleeping sickness from this tsetse fly. And the stripes can act as a kind of confusing place as to where the tsetse flies can and can't land. Another theory is, I mean, they are quite magnificent, the stripes, and particularly when they're walking in a single file quite close to one another, those stripes can almost all blend into one. And it can be quite difficult for a predator, specifically lions, to almost pick out an individual when they're walking together. Another theory is those stripes, often if lions are chasing zebras, and I mean, they can run incredibly fast and they can give off a very powerful kick. When they are moving at high speeds, the movement of those stripes from left to right to left, and in a sharp corner, kind of almost form like an optical illusion in terms of the direction. So if it's moving very quickly in front of your view, with the stripes going past you very quickly, it can almost seem as if they're going left to right or right to left rather than the direction that they're actually going. So they seem to be going along the road again. I wonder if they're not heading to a bigger puddle of water. Let's see if we can't follow a little bit here. It's also, I mean, on the road, it's the path of least resistance, making it easier for them. They don't have to walk in the long grass, don't have to worry too much about ticks. Here's this little puddle right in the road that they were drinking. It's probably going to sink the vehicle a little bit, so that's just not too bad, actually. So now the stallion has come to the back. He's this one right at the back here, almost acting as the protector. Megan, they are gorgeous. They are indeed. I mean, particularly when they walk in this kind of single file. Let me stop here, and I'm not going to put any pressure on them. But the stallion right at the back, you see how he's keeping a distance and allowing his mares or his females to go up ahead. And he'll keep an ever watchful eye on these females, letting them go ahead and showing that he's the one that's most vulnerable. And you'll see, I mean, I'm sure many fathers can relate to this as well. These stallions are incredibly protective. And he'll have his own little dazzle, which will comprise of several females, and he'll mate with their females. And if they give birth to females as well, young foals that are females as well, they'll grow up in this little dazzle or this harem of his. And how the zebras actually kind of leave this harem to create their own little groups is the male will allow young males in. And when the young males come in, they almost have to prove themselves to the stallion, the dominant stallion. And he will actually end up fighting with them over several weeks, several months. And he will only let his daughters go with this new pursuer once he is convinced and is sure that they are strong enough and will actually have the right kind of genes to mate and start their own dazzle with his daughters. It's quite interesting. You see how the male stopped as well. He's actually turned around. Where is he going to go now? He stopped to feed, and everybody else came in to join him. The females were going ahead, and he called the shot there. Leroy, do you get different types of zebras? The answer to your question is yes. Down here in South Africa and all the way up into East Africa, these are called plains zebras. You also get Greaves zebras, which is slightly different, and a mountain zebra down in the western part of South Africa. They're quite rare, those two. This is certainly the most common type of zebra, the plains zebra. And there are slight differences between them. I mean, if you have a look at these ones, the stripes underneath their bellies, they kind of go all the way past their bellies and match or join underneath. Mountain zebra, the stripes kind of stop, not all the way underneath their belly, but they stop kind of halfway up their tummies. And then like a Greaves zebra, they've got very thin stripes and lots of them. But down here, in the most abundant zebra species on the African continent is certainly the plains zebra. I'm sure when you used to watch WildEarth at the Masai Mara, you used to see zebras potentially in their hundreds of thousands, and that will be the same species as this one. The plains zebra. It used to be called the Birchall zebra, now the plains zebra. It's quite amazing how relaxed and how confident they are being. In fact, I wonder if it's because we've actually spent probably 20 to 25 minutes with them, allowing them to walk in the road without pressing any pressure on them. And they've actually stopped and they've come right towards us, very comfortably feeding. They're not often shy, but they'll often keep their distance from us just because we are quite different. This is something to have a look out for these plains zebra. If you have a look at, obviously it's the black and the white stripes. In between the black stripes and in the white stripes, look at the back of this one. Can you see it? It's almost like a shadow stripe. That's also a characteristic of this plains zebra. There's that kind of little grayish shadow stripe, which is characteristic of that. And you see their full bellies as well. I mean, that tail as well, just swishing. There are quite a lot of flies at the moment. Look at those very full bellies. And zebras are quite gassy animals. I wouldn't be surprised if one or two let some gas with a little fart go in the next while. So the reason for that is there's actually quite a lot of gas in their stomach or in their guts, and that's to do with their digestive system. Their digestive system is that of a hind gut fermenter, And when they eat the grass, it goes into their gut and it starts to ferment. And that creates a gas, which they often have to release. And that creates this almost bloated kind of image. And you'll see, even in the dead of winter, these animals are super bloated and they look like they're in incredible condition. Some say one of the better ways to try and tell if a zebra is in good or bad condition is actually looking at their manes. So those manes, have a look at them. They are perfectly upright and almost as if they've come from the kind of parlor recently, perfectly trimmed in perfect shape, and they've got these fat reserves on the backs of their necks which kind of keep these manes upright. And when they start to lose a bit of condition, instead of looking at their stomachs and seeing as if, or thinking that they might be well fed, therefore they're not in good condition, a better way might be to look at that mane and try and see the condition of it, if it's kind of flopping over, if those fat reserves are nowhere what they used to be, particularly in the summertime. But now at this time of the year, there is lots of grass and their manes are in perfect condition. Them as well. I mean, this stallion who's closest to us, he hasn't let those females go. So, Kirsty, let me answer your question before I carry on. Why do their muscles twitch like that? It's to get rid of flies. And you see how those tails are permanently swishing like that? They'll also have a little twitch like that. I don't know if you've ever seen horses. They do the same. Their skin kind of twitches like that to get rid of flies in areas that their tail can't reach. And just like that, let's see if we can't have another view. But it seems like they've just gone out of view. They haven't gone very far off the road. But that's just how dense and thick it is at the moment. And people think, I mean, black and white are the colors that stand out the most in the bush, and people think that zebras with black and white are at a serious disadvantage. But even at this time of the year, the black and the white disappears incredibly quickly. And as we were talking about earlier, it's not so much the camouflage that they're relying on in the black and white stripes, it's the breakup of the shape and the confusion that it might cause to predators. So now that they've moved on, I think I might continue on as well, trying to see what else we can find this morning, and I'm going to send you over to Steve.
Thanks, Dan. Well, I know what you mean about animals disappearing into the vegetation because it's so thick. We haven't seen our mating pair again. We haven't seen them in some time, in fact. They are densely hidden in the vegetation. And everybody, I've just been asked to update you that for now we are going to be maintaining the status quo with questions, how they've been asked. So we'll be holding off on the changes that have been proposed until further notice. So sorry about any confusion. So please don't forget to send through your questions and comments. Hashtag WildEarth within the YouTube chat stream. Kids questions at wildearth.tv. No, Timothy. Well, it's really hard to say. There's no real sort of schedule. Female leopard who's not pregnant, it doesn't have cubs, will cycle every month. So it's possible that 2-3 females in the same area could all cycle at the same time. It gives the opportunity for other males to mate with them, because one male will be occupied with an individual. And once she has mated and has fallen pregnant, obviously it's a 3 months or so pregnancy, and then a year to a year and a half until she's ready to mate again. Sometimes even more. Depends what literature you read. But it is possible for more than one to come into estrus at the exact same time. There's no sort of major seasonality when it comes to predators. They sort of go throughout the year, but you do generally find many of our lions and leopards, sort of, well, these lions anyway, synchronizing. But it's a very different sort of strategy altogether that is a benefit to the pride. And that means there needs to be more than one male around, which obviously in coalitions beneficial. But leopards are solitary, both male and female, come together for these brief soirees in the bushes before going off on their solitary way, because after this mating session, it's very likely that he's going to influence her in many ways by stealing her food again. Don't even know what happens behind the scenes. So there's no love lost. Okay, well, we're going to try reposition, and I'm not going to get a better view. There's been a lot of attempts to try and view them here, but they are very well hidden. So we need to move back, see if maybe we can get another view. Otherwise, we're going to move off, go find something else. While we do so, I'm going to send you over to DJ, who's on the move.
We're just driving nice and slowly at the moment because we keep seeing on the roads the grounded gama, that it's a ground lizard, but we keep seeing them sort of dashing, and then there's holes. So most of them, it's females that have been digging the holes, trying to lay the eggs in the hole, but we haven't managed to get one that it stays in the hole before running away. So if we just keep going slowly, maybe we'll get a view of one of them sticking their head out of it. And they're choosing, well, I don't know if it's got to do with the road surface being hard and compact underneath and nice to protect the eggs, or the fact that it's in the sun. The ones choosing the middle of the road probably smarter than the ones that are actually choosing the tire track. Yeah, I think it's because it's also then, it's always going to be exposed to the sun, and over time they will rely on that sun, almost like a little mini oven, to bake the eggs. But when I say bake the eggs, it's not that it's going to come out like a hard-boiled egg. It'll eventually come out like a little agama. But I'm not seeing any at this stage. Of course, it's always when you see lots and then you suddenly want to see one. You don't, but they have been really, really active, and that's as a result of some of the rains that we've had. Is that there's it's the season and the time for the ground agamas to be breeding. We've just literally been the entire June back. We must have seen about 10 of them scuttle off the road, and now that we're trying to find one for you, we can't find any. So we are back. Oh, there goes one. Oh, there he is. Oh, no. Too slow. Straight into the thicket and just disappeared. Maggie is asking which animal has the highest population. Now, that's almost like a trick question because insects fall in animals. So then if you just think about things like these armored ground crickets, they're in their thousands. Bird-wise, I'd say certainly the sociable weaver would be the one that's the highest in number. As far as mammals go, I'd have to say we're not looking at bats and rodents and things, but as far as large mammals go, at Tswalu it would be the gemsbok or the oryx. They're very high in number. Yeah. If you'd been here a few weeks ago, it would have been the brown-veined white butterflies. There's lots of those. So it does just depend, especially when you say the word animal, then you're incorporating all of those different things. But certainly is an abundance of things at the moment because of also those successes with the insects, the grasses. There'll be a good, probably a good increase in rodent population over the next couple of months as there's more food available. I'm still trying to find one more of those ground agomas, but I can't seem to see one. We've also seen males chasing females. So Kalahari guy is asking how big is Tswalu. It's actually quite large. It's over 100,000 hectares. So a very big piece of the Kalahari. How long have I been at Tswalu? So I started freelancing here, so just over a year and a half now. I've been at Tswalu, and I'm still finding new roads because it's such a big place. Still finding new areas, and as we go through the different seasons, you still find new plants that you've never seen before. So that is always, for a guide, a really nice challenge, is to go to a new area because you will see new things. You'll find new birds, you'll find, just today, because of the rains, somebody on the one of our groups has, there was one, and he just ran away. There was a grey-hooded kingfisher, which hasn't been recorded on the reserve for more than 9 years. So I might sneak in to try and find that one. If you're a little bit of a twitter, that's definitely a special. For some, is a grey-hooded kingfisher. So yeah, those kinds of things happen when you have this abundance of rain and then the change over a very short time frame. Oh, there's one. Get him, Morgan, get him. It's there, and it's on the left-hand side of the road, and we've been patiently waiting, and finally we've got a picture of a ground agama for you. Just nicely standing in the shade. So it's one of those tricks. If I go too close, then it runs away. But he's just enjoying the sunshine. So we don't, the ground agama for us does go up into the trees, and he has exited. Oh no, he's there, he's still there. So they do go up into the trees, and they actually sort of stand up in the trees, quite high up on the branches, just to sun themselves and make themselves visible to the females. But they're not, oh, kill. He just grabbed an insect. Maybe that's also why they're out in the roads at the moment, is because of the heat. It's easy hunting out in an open clearing like that. All he has to do is do exactly what he did, was just stand still and wait for an insect to run across an open clearing, and it's easy pickings. So that's possibly also why we're seeing so many now, is because it's quite nice and warm. It's going to be feeling like it feels now, a very toasty day again this side. They're incredibly quick. Another kill. So Jessica is asking what would prey on a ground agama. So you will find larger raptors, something like a pale chanting goshawk, if they could catch them. And what else from a small secretary birds? Things like, we don't get the ground hornbill here, but certainly they would prey on agama species or lizard species of some kind. The pygmy falcon may be smaller agamas, but they generally tend to sort of go for the skinks and the lizards, and agama might be a little bit big. Pygmy falcon themselves are not very big, so to carry an agama would be quite a challenge. He's moved on. And then even snakes as well. Snakes might prey on an agama. Oh, he just crossed the road again. So stick with us for a little bit. We'll take you up and over the dune and just wait for a few seconds. You're going to see the most amazing scenery reveal itself once I manage to get us up and over the dune. Hopefully this isn't too steep. Otherwise we have to do it with a little bit of speed and momentum. Oh, yeah, no, we're going to have to do this one a little bit quicker, so... Oh, no, not that. I can... And we just keep going. Hold on to your seats. And the turbo needs to kick in. And there we go. When it's thicker sand, it's always a challenge. Ooh, we've got some pretty stuff here. So look at that beautiful view. Tswalu, known for all of its scenery, but I've seen two awesome plants that we haven't done in a while. So let me just find where did I put it? My water bottle. I'm going to show you really. So there's a beautiful these white flowers of the Dune bush that Morgan can show you in a second. And then this is I know probably some of you have seen it before, these beautiful pink flowers, also like a creeper, like a carpet. But if I take a couple of leaves, just a few leaves, pop them in my hand with a little bit of water, and I just rub them up and down like that, I'll end up with a very slimy soap. But beautiful feeling on the hands afterwards. It's almost like putting on a hand cream. And they have antibacterial properties. And that's, it feels a bit sticky at the moment, but that's a good function for a sheep's thorn. But also sometimes called a devil's thorn. And I'm going to pick up one of the seeds here and just hold it in my hand. And you can actually see the two little spikes there and the flat seed pod. Once that dries out, it'll attach itself. The animals will walk over that and it will get stuck between the hooves. And then once they manage to get it off, they will effectively have deposited it somewhere else. So beautiful purple flowers. Tend to be quite a good cover across the top of the dunes. Just do a quick rinse. Oops, I've just disconnected. Can you still hear me, hopefully? My feet, my knee, pulled that off. So here we chatted a little bit about this one yesterday, a nice little indie gopher, also just a sort of a ground cover. So as we went out west, there's more and more of this tree that we see out west. It's actually an acacia tree, the grey camel thorn. So camel thorn, most people know the very popular one with the nice big fat seed pods that gets into these massive trees. And this is kind of like the sibling, the grey camel thorn, but very flimsy thorns. If I just do that, it slides quite easily through. So a very nice food source for kudu and even giraffe. Lots of, there's a very different, I've got a seed pod here, I'm going to take it off. So there's the seed pod of the camel thorn, which is the grey camel thorn, very, very small and slight compared to the normal camel thorn, which is probably about 10 times as thick. Or wide, should I say. There's loads of little... Oh, seeing it's almost like a sap or a fungus on there, I'm not too sure. So, yeah, let's get... Oh. Here we go. There's a pair of mating elegant grasshoppers. So, I know Steve's been struggling to show you mating leopards, and I know that's really a wow, but here's mating grasshoppers. How does that sound relative? Oh, no, there. he's a lot smaller than her, so she's struggling to actually move with him on her back. No, there they go. I don't know if you got them at all. So they're here. No, difficult. I know that that's not going to be easy to spot on the camera. But the elegant grasshoppers, I'm sure you've seen a couple of times at Tswalu, that for those of the regular viewers, that bright aposematic coloration. So orange, black, red, green, all that coloration that says that they are poisonous or toxic to eat. So pretty much leave them alone. It's known as aposematic coloration. He's catching a free ride. There we go. Mating grasshoppers. I'm going to carry on driving through the dunes, and then we can see what else we can get that's possibly in flower. I know we keep saying it, and we say it all the time, but the change is so amazing. So Lisa's asking if we get to walk around Tswalu. Absolutely, we can walk anywhere on Tswalu, but yeah, we do walks. It's definitely requires good shoes because there's lots of sand, and you are competing against the resistance of the sand, so sometimes a walk is harder on your calves than you think. After you've spent a whole day walking, tracking an animal through these sand dunes, you certainly feel it on your calves and your legs because you've been doing all that extra work with the sand. Here we go, so we can show you some of these nests. We were trying to show you earlier the white-browed sparrow weaver's nest. I'm just going to give Morgan a bit of space to show you the different nests on the tree there. But the little white-browed sparrow weaver, we sometimes get him on picture. He's a little brown bird with a little white stripe above his eye. And this is one little colony or one group of birds that nest here. And they've got different ways that they've done studies to see what makes them choose one side of the tree relative to the other. So if we sort of, all the nests here are on the southern side of the tree, but some birds choose it based on the sun, the angle of the sun. So in the northern hemisphere, if they wanted sun, they'd be on the northern side of the tree. But because we're in the desert environments and we do have much hotter temperatures, they choose the southern side. But what they've done with white-browed sparrow weavers is that they've actually discovered it's not about the sun. It's actually about the predominant wind direction. The prevailing wind direction is what determines which side of the trees the white-browed sparrow weavers choose to build their nests. And then they do build two different kinds of nests. The one has two entrances, so it's almost like built in almost a U shape with an entrance on either side, so that they've got an emergency exit. If a predator like a Cape Cobra stuck its head in the one end, they'd be able to fly out the other end. And then the only nest that they close completely would be the nest that they would have the eggs in with the chicks. But you know, when you've got a sheer abundance of nests on one tree, the cobra, if it comes up the tree, has to make the effort to go and check each and every one of those nests in order to find the one with the chicks in it. So it's actually also quite a good strategy in that there's lots of dummies for the Cape Cobra, and it does make it time and effort. And by then, maybe the sheer presence and the birds mobbing and harassing the snake, it might move on before it actually gets to the eggs. I can hear them. The white-browed sparrow weavers are close by, but they're not in the tree. So we're going to carry on moseying on down the road.
If you love to watch WildEarth, then we are inviting you to join our Explorers program. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic WildEarth expeditions, join our guides for a chat around the fire, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn allows us to escape into nature every single day.
Being a safari driver requires some serious multitasking ability. You've got to be able to talk, look at the road, steer, and occasionally get the vehicle into the right gear.
Do not crash into any trees. Oh, that's a dozy.
Just jump into the car and hope for the best, and you'll see where it takes you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm surprised they're moving as fast as that didn't go well.
Who is the best driver? Well, me, of course, although some of the cam-ops might disagree.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Africa is very special, and when you come down here, even when you're watching through our camera, the landscapes change from desert to bushveld to up in the Masai Mara where there's grassland. That means that the biodiversity changes as we move along Africa. And what I love most about connecting with you guys is the fact that I get to share these wonderful experiences with thousands of people.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
So there's an antelope we haven't shown you yet this morning, is a gemsbok. It's a nice male gemsbok, but you can just see, relative to what we were seeing them, now they're almost beyond knee-deep in grass at this stage. So I think that they think that they're in heaven at the moment. There's just so much green grass. Oh, somebody said paradise earlier, which definitely is. We'll leave the gemsbok. We've got a pale chanting goshawk that just landed in the tree on the left here. He's just come off the ground, so maybe he has a lizard or something. They are quite good at catching lizards. And the pale chanting goshawk adults are generally grey in colour with the red coloration. The light is a little bit difficult now, but that one's more brown. So that is a juvenile. That's how you can tell. Sometimes it gets very confusing with the raptors when there's a difference between the juvenile and the adult. But that would be a juvenile, not an immature, but a juvenile. So it's almost got its adult plumage. So it's kind of half rusty brown and half going into a bit of a grey. Beautiful. And then also the eye colour hasn't changed, and neither has the beak colour changed yet. So a pale chanting goshawk, and the chanting refers to their singing type of song. They have quite a beautiful call. I don't know if it's got anything in the feet. It came off the ground and it was in the shade, and I didn't see if it had anything in its feet, and I can't see at the moment. But he has landed sort of quite a difficult. No, he's just busy grooming. So if he had caught a lizard, the first thing that he does is, if it's in his feet, he'll use his beak, and then often with the raptors there's almost like a notch on the edge of the beak, and they'll actually pull at the vertebra to break the vertebra, to paralyze or kill the animal. They break the vertebra, and then it becomes easy to eat, or well, then it's immobile. And then they'll go to a branch where they can then start feeding on it. So somebody was asking who eats the lizards, And there is the answer to the question. So, there we go. You can actually see a little bit more of the brown barring. So you see the barring across the tail, and then lighter brown barring across the chest, which when it goes to the adult plumage, it will go into grey. So I believe that the chat stream is everybody saying he's regal, very, very majestic as well. Probably one of the more common raptors here at Tswalu is the pale chanting goshawk. He's certainly a cooperative one, because I don't know how many times we've actually tried to put them on air and they fly away as soon as we stop. So maybe because he's a juvenile, we can work with this one a little bit and see maybe he can be our future TV star. So one of the reasons why raptors will have a different color plumage as a juvenile to an adult is they're basically saying to all the others of the same species, so the adult breeding males and females of their species, to say that they're still in a learning phase. So when they don't have the adult plumage, then they're not competing for breeding rights or for breeding females or for mates, and that generally allows them a little bit more leeway within an area. It also allows them time to learn how to establish their own territory. It also gives them time to learn how to be a pale chanting goshawk. Laughing, I mean, a Namakwa dove just landed right next to him, and now you can see the size comparison between the two, which is quite nice. Sometimes the birds that are confident that that bird is not going to try and attack them will land close to them, either to take a look or send up the alarm and tell everybody else. But the goshawks, not too many birds. They do tend to favour more lizards than anything else. So for some of the raptors, it'll take them about 2 years to get into their adult plumage, sometimes even after about 7 years for battaliers. So Jerome is asking the question, why does it feel like there's so few animals out after the rains? Jerome, I would actually probably say it's more based on visibility. You've literally just got this grass layer that's popped up, so we're not even seeing more than 5 meters off the edges of the roads, whereas before, these vast open expanses, we could see so much more at a distance. So I think that's one of the challenges, is that it is challenging to find animals when it's thick and heavy. I know certainly in the Kruger National Park, when I worked there at one stage, sort of January, February was some of the hardest times to find leopard, and I think Steve's shown you the classic example. The leopards just disappear. It's either so thick you can't see them. I mean, you know they're there, but it's just the density of the bush that makes it difficult. So the animals are always there. You know, the animal numbers don't suddenly change just because there's more or less rain. It's the visibility. So our ability to actually see them that changes and makes it a little bit more challenging. He's just started to sing, the pale chanting goshawk. He flew over to another tree on the other side and he started to sing, make his little call. We'll carry on and see. Also, sometimes another reason why people feel that they see less is they actually see larger groups of animals together. So a herd of impala, for example, when there's lots of food and there's an abundance and they're not struggling and they've got lots of small ones, the herd could be 100. But then in the winter season, that herd breaks up into lots of little herds, and then you're seeing what you would feel would be 5 times as many, but if you calculate them all, those are still the same number of impala. I don't know if anybody saw that in the camera. It was dashing very quickly down the road. That was a steenbok. So while we were busy talking, he literally popped out, ran down the road, and has given us the classic example of how animals just disappear because of the grass. So I think even a poor steenbok struggles to see where he's going of that. So apparently you all just got a mad dash. So I'll slow down where he went, but I don't think we're going to get to see him. Sometimes they literally just dash off and lie down straight on the edge of the road closest to a bush, and that's their tactic: is short speed and hide behind a thicket, and then only will dash off again if they think they've been seen. But yeah, I don't see him at this stage. It looked like a relatively small one as well, so. There's another Namakwa dove in the road. So, Patricia, I didn't get that. I got the question from Patricia, are there sensors around the Tswalu Reserve? I don't know if I got that correctly. Maybe you can just repeat that. Okay, not sensors, fences. Now I got it. Okay, so yeah, there are fences around the Greater Tswalu Reserve, but as Tswalu over years accumulated different farms, then we slowly expanded. But yes, there is one perimeter fence around Tswalu that will have electricity to keep the predators in. It's been awesome having you with us this morning. I think we've had an amazing whoopsie if we can get him on. There's a little crimson-breasted shrike sitting right there, but I'm going to have to say goodbye. He's beautiful. Oh no, we missed him. So thank you very much for joining us. And we'll see you at 4 a.m. Central African Time, 4 p.m. Central African Time.